Good day, and thank you for tuning in 3D, the Daily Divine Direction broadcast for all of our new listeners and viewers who are tuning in for the very first time. I'm Pastor Pope, and thank you for allowing us to come into your listening and viewing environment. We are here with you every Monday through Friday from 12:30 p.m. until 1 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, broadcasting live from the FijiWater.com sponsored studio, where you can discuss careers, finances, entrepreneurship. You can discuss marriage, divorce, raising children, blending families. You can discuss dating and relationships. Whatever's in your heart, whatever's on your mind, God is concerned about that which concerns you. And that is the reason that we are here with you in 3D, the Daily Divine Direction broadcast, every Monday through Friday from 12:30 p.m. until 1 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. Our broadcast 3D is brought to you by Fiji Water, Earth's finest water. You may already know that Fiji water comes from Fiji. However, did you know that it is created by nature? It is untouched by man. It starts as a tropical rainfall which slowly filters through layers of volcanic rock, where the water collects in a natural, sustainable artesian aquifer, where it is bottled right at the source, free from human contact until you unscrew the blue cap. Fiji Water, Earth's finest water, will be delivered right to your front door when you subscribe for delivery, and you will save money at FijiWater.com. This is not just ordinary water. This is Earth's finest water at FijiWater.com. And for those of you who continue giving on the Give segment of our app and New Life Delaware, and those of you that have made the weekly or monthly commitment to support the broadcast by giving on the contribution pages of our websites at NewLifeMinistriesInternational.com, NewLifeInternationalCDC.com, and those of you that use the QR code or the link provided on Facebook and on YouTube. We thank all of you for your continued support and for your commitment as we fulfill our commitment to God to be here for you in 3D, the Daily Divine Direction broadcast. So I want to say to all of our listeners and viewers, I'm announcing this every day until we provide you with a date. You have asked for it, you got it. We're going to be expanding our broadcast to from 30 minutes a day to 1 hour a day at your request. We are now going to move forward with that. So we're in the process of developing the production for that and getting ready so that we can go to 1 hour each day. We will be on the air live from 12 p.m. until 1 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. So we want you to continue tuning in as you always have, but we've answered your request. Now, you know, for a long time I resisted doing this, but it's God's will. We're going to move forward. So I'm thankful to all of you for your desire to be with us for an hour now, Monday through Friday from 12:30 p.m. until 1 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. So tune in every day. As always, encourage your family, friends, coworkers, and colleagues to continue doing the same. Now, as you know, we're in the midst of a FijiWater.com sponsored promo, which we're going to be doing every month. So one of our listeners and viewers will be selected to win a case of Fiji water each month from FijiWater.com. Now, in order to do that, right now, you will continue until we make the announcement the day that we're going to move forward with 1 hour. We are going to have you from 12 p.m. or 6 p.m. daily. You can list the first 3 songs that you hear starting at 12 p.m. or starting at 6 p.m. Text them along with your name and email address to the T-Mobile caller text line at 267-992-1424. You will list the first 3 songs you hear, whatever they are, along with your name and your email address, and text them to the T-Mobile caller text line at 267-992-1424. One of our listeners and viewers will be selected to win a case of Earth's finest water, Fiji water, from FijiWater.com. And so I want to say to all of our listeners and viewers who, just so you know, Rebecca Boover, licensed and registered dietitian and nutritionist, will continue being with us every first Thursday, scheduling permitted, but she will join the broadcast at 12:30 p.m. We will discuss all of the health and wellness topics that have been coming in over a long period of time that we don't always get to, but we will address those for the first half hour, and then Becca will jump in at her earliest convenience from 12:30 p.m. until 1 p.m. But we are going to be going to a 1 hour broadcast from 12 p.m. to 1 p.m. And we will update you on what time you will need to go to WKAPfaith.com and list the 3 songs, the first 3 songs that you hear. We'll tell you what time to do that once we go to the hour. But right now, from 12 p.m. or at 6 p.m., you can listen to the first 3 songs. We want you to stay connected 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. But the first 3 songs, text them along with your name, email address to the T-Mobile caller text line, 267-992-1424. So I'm going to address a communication that came in from one of our listeners and viewers who indicated that your entire family has not one man remaining, yet everyone is trying to tell you how to have and conduct a relationship. And you said you've been living with your entire life with their opinions, and you want to know, how do you break the cycle? Because for the first time you realize that you've been getting bad advice. So listen, I get it. You have all these people around you who have all been in relationships, marriages, whatever the case may be, over their entire lives. And now you look around and you said they've been giving you advice over and over about how to have a relationship, how to conduct a relationship, but your relationships continue to end. And the reason is, yes, you're right, you've been getting bad advice. What you've been getting is advice based on their own life experiences and the way they've chosen to conduct their relationships. And then because their relationships ended, they want to tell you how bad it is and how difficult it is to have a relationship. But the reality is, anyone can have a relationship. Can you have a successful relationship? That's the question. So you have to recognize that, first and foremost, to break that cycle, you have to break off from those that have been giving you what you termed as bad advice, and I say it's uninformed advice. And I'm going to tell you the reason why. Because it's been that way for generations. They've been getting advice from people who haven't had successful relationships, and then they've been passing on the same information to you, but they haven't had any successful relationships. And so you look around and you say, and this is what you said in your communication, holidays, it's all women together on the holidays. There's no man in the family. Now, from time to time, someone will pop up with a man. But you notice that they don't usually make it to the next holiday, or if they make it to the next holiday, they don't make it to the holiday after that. In the end, it's back to all women being together during the holidays. And the reason is because society has us believing that we should have relationships that are antagonistic, that we should have relationships that are based on on emotion and opinion. That's not reality. Listen, men and women are wired differently. And what you have to decide along the way is what you can live with and what you can't live with. And then when you are developing a relationship, you need to have those discussions. You know, it's a non-starter for someone who has been abusive in a previous relationship. They can say they've changed their ways all they want, but chances are, unless they've gotten help, they're going to remain in that same state of mind. So they have to want to get help. And I don't necessarily mean that it has to be, clinical therapy. But they at very, very least need to have sought out help from a spiritual advisor. If they don't seek that help, they're going to stay in that same state of mind, that same pattern. I'm not suggesting that you should get into a relationship with someone who has an addictive personality, unless they've gotten some help and they've overcome the addiction. See, anyone can have bad things happen to them. Anyone can develop bad habits. But are they willing to break those habits and not return to those habits? That's going to be critically important. Now, having said all of that, that all begins with discussions in relationships. You got to be able to have a conversation about other things aside from where you want to travel and where you like to go out and eat and the rooftop parties you like to attend. None of that's going to lead to a successful relationship. What's going to lead to a successful relationship is understanding where you both are in your relationship with the Lord. And I'm not talking about people who just say they have a relationship with the Lord and they love the Lord. I'm talking about people who are working out their salvation on a continuous basis. So you want to know, how do you break the cycles? First of all, stop listening to people who are not having successful relationships. And secondly, when you get in a relationship or you begin to enter into a relationship, it all has to line up with the Word of God, not with what your girlfriends say, not what your female family members say. It has to line up with the Word of God. The man is the head, the woman is the helpmate, and if you have children, your children are blessed because the two of you love them together. That's got to be the order, first and foremost. I know people are not going to like that because I've said it out loud and over again, but that's the reality. If we want to have healthy relationships, that's what it has to be. And so I say that to you to say that's the beginning of breaking that cycle. The good news is you've identified that it's a perpetuating circumstance within your family. And that is the first step. The first step to making progress. Because this is real. This is real life. And you want to make certain that you get the most out of life that life has to offer for you. In order to do that, yes, some changes have to be made. And you need to know this. You're not the only person who's living with that experience. Men are out of the household because they can't have good relationships. Some men leave because they want to, for whatever their reasons are, but most of them only leave the nest. Most of them only leave their cave. Most of them only leave their castle when there's no harmony in the castle. And the castle is a cold place by yourself. This segment of the broadcast has been brought to you by T-Mobile, America's largest, fastest, and most reliable 5G provider at no extra charge. So if you're not currently a T-Mobile customer, you may call or text on the T-Mobile call or text line at 267-992-1424. We will move you into our queue so that you may become a T-Mobile customer and experience America's largest, fastest, and most reliable 5G provider at no extra charge. Taxes and fees are included in your bill, and if you auto pay by attaching a credit card to your account, you will receive a discount on your monthly bill at T-Mobile, America's largest, fastest, and most reliable 5G provider at no extra charge. And this segment of the broadcast is brought to you by PorscheAmerica.com. If you are in the market for a high-performance automobile, one of the finest high-performance automobiles ever manufactured, go to PorscheAmerica.com. You will have the opportunity to virtually build out the Porsche you desire to own. And if you are in our area, you can go to PorscheDelaware.com. Ask to speak to Mike Didio, who is the general manager at PorscheDelaware.com. He will make certain that someone assists you in selecting and purchasing the Porsche you desire to own. And if you currently own one and you're in our area and you just are in need of service, go to PorscheDelaware.com. Ask to speak to Mike Adams, who is the service manager. He will make certain that someone assists you in scheduling an appointment. They will pick up your vehicle at your home or office, drop off your vehicle to you when your service has been completed, and provide you with a loaner car until your service has been completed at PorscheDelaware.com. I'm going to address another communication that came in from one of our listeners and viewers who indicated that you are without question attractive, you said. However, you said you feel as though men are making you compete against other women when there really is no competition. Well, it's really nice that you think very highly of yourself, and that's a good thing, to have a good self-image. The question is, why are men having you compete for their attention with other women? The reason is because there's always going to be someone more attractive. That's first and foremost. So there's always going to be a competition. They're going to be sizing you up and sizing up every other person that's visually of interest to them. And there's always going to be someone who's more beautiful. That's just the reality of life. But they're really not sizing you up just for your physical beauty. See, men are visual creatures. We are. The first thing we notice is a woman, the way a woman carries herself. Is she attractive? Does she carry herself with style and grace? All of those things were, I know men look at women differently in every aspect, but they're still looking. And when they're looking at beauty, they're always going to see something that's more beautiful. Let's just understand that first. So what they're really examining is not your beauty, just your physical beauty. They're looking at, when they approach you, what's your attitude? When they see you out in public, what's your behavior? How do you communicate with others? Do you treat others with dignity? Do you treat them with a lack of consciousness? In other words, do you just ignore people because you're beautiful? They're going to be looking at all of that. And that's where the competition comes in. If you are the most, you could, and I'm going to use this term, even though, pardon me, even though that there's always beauty's in the eye of the beholder. So one person will look at one person one way, and then another will look at them a different way. So here's what you need to know. There's always going to be someone more beautiful, and that's not the competition. The competition is your attitude, your behavior in public, the way you look. No, you could be a drop dead gorgeous woman. If you got a bad attitude, you're not the most beautiful woman anymore. And that's what you got to keep in mind. I know you feel like there's no competition, but there really is some competition out there. And it's based on their attitude and their behavior in public and their way they communicate. Listen, there are men who like toxic women and who like toxic relationships, but they're the exception to the rule. They're not the norm. Because men, we're not built that way. We're not wired that way. There's something a little bit off with the personality that enjoys that. Don't mean to offend anyone, just keeping it real. But at the end of the day, it's all about our attitude. It's all about the way we present ourselves. It's all about the way we communicate. It's about our character. It's the way we treat others. Let's just keep it real. If you are really interested in having a relationship, it's not about you competing with your beauty. Because beauty is beauty. Attitude can either be beautiful or it can be ugly. Behavior can either be beautiful or it can be ugly. Communication can either be beautiful or ugly. Beauty is fleeting. Physical beauty is fleeting. But the rest of those things, attitude, behavior, communication, character, those are all things that define who you are, the personality of who you are. So when you say you're competing, we're all competing in some way, in some form of life. We're all competing. You have a really high opinion of yourself, and that's okay. That's a good thing to have some self-image, some self-respect. That's a good thing. But more importantly, your attitude is going to determine your altitude, just how high you're going to go and how successful your relationships are going to be. This segment of the broadcast has been brought to you by Comcast Business. We all need to be more effective and efficient in business, and you can do that by contacting Comcast Business. Call Eunice at 603-222-7706. Your code is Pastor Pope, and you will receive an $800 prepaid Visa gift card with a qualifying bundle. Now let's make sure we're clear on that. It has to be a qualifying bundle. Your code is Pastor Pope. Call Comcast Business. Call Eunice at Comcast Business at 603-222-7706. She will walk you through the process of becoming a Comcast Business customer. With the qualifying bundle, you will receive an $800 prepaid Visa gift card. I'm going to address another communication that came in from one of our listeners and viewers. However, before I do that, I must do this. This segment of the broadcast is also brought to you by Charles Tyrwhitt, located in London, the UK. They also have stores in New York, Chicago, Washington, D.C., and at the King of Prussia Mall in King of Prussia, Pennsylvania. So if you're in any of those areas, stop in at the retail stores. They have everything a man could possibly need. And if you're not in any of those areas, you can reach Charles Tyrwhitt at ctshirts.com. And The White Company, located in London, the UK. They also have a store on Fifth Avenue in New York. So if you're in New York, stop in at the retail store. They have everything you could possibly need: home goods, clothing for men, women, and children. And if you're not in New York, you can order from The White Company at thewhitecompany.com. They too will ship and deliver right to your front door in an appropriate period of time. So I'm going to address another communication that came in from one of our listeners and viewers who indicated that you have been watching the broadcast with your girlfriends daily. You all have been watching the broadcast, and you said you do not agree with what I say about men wanting to be nesters. You said men want to count bodies, and the badder the body, the better. Listen, I will say this in response. So I'm going to have a real dialogue with you. And first of all, let me say to you and your girlfriends, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for being faithful listeners of the Daily Divine Direction broadcast 3D. Okay, now having said that, let me explain something to all of you, because I know you're watching. Okay, so let me say this to all of you. There are exceptions to every rule. I didn't say boys want to be nesters. I said men want to be nesters. The men you describe that are counting bodies are not, they're not men. They haven't matured from boys to men. I know that's a group, but I know that's an R&B, they're R&B artists, but they haven't matured from boys to men. If they're just counting bodies, they're not men. They're still boys. Immature boys just playing games. What I said to all of you, to all of our listeners and viewers who watch this broadcast, and all of you who have been watching it faithfully, and again, to God be the glory, I thank you for for being daily listeners. You don't necessarily have to agree with what I said, but what I said is a fact. And let me tell you how I know it's a fact. I've been a man all my life. I know how men think. And I will tell you that men really want to be nesters. And I'll prove that to you by referring back over to history itself. There was something once called the caveman, which implied that he owned the cave. The cave that he had chosen was a place that he chose to live, and he would always find a companion, and he would take that companion into the cave with him, and they'd eventually have little cave babies. No, I'm being funny. They'd have children. They would multiply. But they lived in this cave. The men would leave, they'd go out, they'd hunt, they'd find food. They didn't take their food and go someplace else. They returned to the same cave they came out of. And when they came back, they would find their spouse and their children, and this was their life. There was no corporate environment for them to dwell in, for the women to dwell in. So the men hunt and they bring home food. And then as time goes by, we became more sophisticated and we began to be creators and innovators because that's what God intended for us to do. Now think about this. From the very beginning, God placed man in the Garden of Eden. And he told them to dress it, to stay there. And he would provide everything for them. Well, we got things a little messed up. But notice God gave him a place to dwell. And then God gave him the woman. Removed it from the rib of man and gave him a woman. And they were to live in the garden until they messed things up and then got put out. Okay. But they still had to find a place to live. And if you notice, if you read your Bible, you'll notice that Adam never left Eve. He didn't go anywhere, didn't leave and, never come back. No. He kept returning to the same place that he went and dwelled with his wife once they got removed from the garden. But that's a whole nother story because we messed things up. But I say all of that to say to you, then as time goes by, man, because man started dwelling in caves. And they found a nest, a place where they could have a wife and have their children. And they found a place to dwell. They didn't just go wandering around aimlessly. When man became nomads, they wandered with a purpose. To find a land where they could dwell. Man is by nature a nester. Boys count bodies. So you might not disagree, you might not agree. Hopefully after today you get a better picture of this. But we are naturally nesters. But you have to make certain that you are found by a man who wants to nest, not a boy who wants to count bodies. And you also said this in your communication. None of you are currently in a relationship. So you've been dealing with boys. Now it's time to make certain that you're chosen by a man, not a boy. By a man who wants to build a great quality of life for someone. Make it a man of God. Make it a man of God that really wants to have his relationship with the Lord, build his career, be successful in his career, support you in your career, continue to encourage you, not, beat you down emotionally, but someone who's going to lift you up. Someone who's going to encourage you to keep your eyes on the prize. Someone who's going to make you his prize. because he who finds a wife finds a good thing and obtains favor of the Lord. Today's Daily Divine Direction broadcast 3D has been brought to you by Fiji Water. A taste of paradise will be delivered right to your front door when you subscribe for delivery, and you'll save money at FijiWater.com. May God bless you today. May God keep his face turned towards you. May God give you peace that surpasses all understanding. Have a great day today. Remember, 12 p.m. tomorrow, or 6 p.m. this evening, 12 p.m. tomorrow, 6 p.m. every day, 12 and 6. The first three songs you hear on